C60 olive oil is a popular choice for people wanting to activate their full potential. Improved sleep, faster recovery, and more energy are just a few of the amazing comments received from our customers who take a spoonful a day. Make C60 oil a part of your daily routine and see what it can do for you. Activate your potential today at thec60company.com.
Aren't we the lucky ones in Britain? We have seen Brexit delayed yet again. I'm speaking now on October the 31st, Halloween, which is the day that we should have left, but that's been delayed again. And the European Union bureaucrats and heads of government, of course, gave an extension to Britain leaving, because they don't want Britain to leave. The political class in Europe and the political class in Britain are as one in wanting to stop Brexit. But we're the lucky ones for another reason, and that's because the Brexit situation couldn't be resolved, and the government of Boris Johnson, the Conservative government, couldn't get legislation through Parliament because they have a minority government now, with the opposition having a majority. Because of that, we're having a general election. A general election on September the 12th, which will in effect decide if Brexit happens or not. And so it's all a mess, really. And now, which is why we're so lucky, we're going to have politicians from every direction hurling abuse at each other for the next many weeks, which is going to be lovely. But the situation in terms of numbers and indeed ambition is that the Liberal Democratic Party, which is neither liberal nor democratic, has come out and said we will campaign, as they have been doing now for several months, on the policy of stopping Brexit. Not even a second referendum. No, not even that. We're going to stop it if we get voted into power. You have the Scottish National Party, which also has policy of stopping Brexit. And you have a Labour Party, which is supposed to be the main opposition party, led officially by Jeremy Corbyn, that has a Brexit policy which is, basically whoever you talk to, it seems. It's changed all the time. It seems now that it's a policy of having a second referendum. And that's the kind of anti-Brexit coalition. You throw in one MP called Caroline Lucas from the Green Party, a Green Party that's no longer the Green Party that I was a speaker for in the 1980s. It's completely transformed and become everything that the Green Party claims it was created to oppose. So that group is basically seeking to stop Brexit. I mean, there'll be people in the Labour Party as individuals that will absolutely want Brexit in among the MPs, but the great majority basically want to stop it. And thanks to the actions of the Labour Party and Labour Party members of Parliament, that's what they've achieved so far, preventing it going through. On the other side, you have the Conservative Party, some of which would rather stop Brexit, but the majority want Brexit in some form, including, it would seem, the leader Boris Johnson. Although you never know with Johnson. What he believes and what he says are often not necessarily the same thing. But let's take it on face value for the moment that he does want, and his actions have basically been pushing for a form of Brexit. And I say a form of Brexit because the deal that he renegotiated with the EU, which was on its way through Parliament and then was stopped, and a general election has been called instead. It's a form of Brexit. It still leaves the European Union with an enormous amount of power and influence over what happens in Britain. So they want a form of Brexit. Then you've got the Brexit Party led by Farage, Nigel Farage, who leads a party that wants a full-blown Brexit, complete independence from the EU. And so the Brexit Party and the Conservative Party of Johnson are basically the other side of the Brexit debate politically. They want a Brexit in some form, although Johnson's version of Brexit and Farage's version of Brexit are not anything like the same. They want a form of Brexit. So that's basically how it breaks down. And the danger, of course, is that there will be a split of the vote, because with first past the post, as we have in Britain, it means that you can actually lose the election while getting most votes if the vote is split. So, for instance, if the anti or the pro-Brexit vote is split between the Conservative Party and the Brexit Party, then they can get more votes together, but still lose, and another government's formed from anti-Brexit parties because they didn't split the vote to the same extent. So it's all up in the air, and I do hope that some accommodation can be made between Nigel Farage and his Brexit party and Boris Johnson's Conservative Party, so that at least they don't stand against each other in seats, constituencies, where they will split the vote and let possibly another party in that is against Brexit, which would be crazy. The urban areas of Britain, the urban centres and cities of Britain, which are normally big Labour Party strongholds, great numbers of them, majorities of people in those cities, voted for Brexit. And so they will obviously overwhelmingly vote for Brexit parties. But if some go off to the Tories and some the Conservatives and some go to the Brexit Party, then that's going to get us nowhere. And Labour Party voters in these urban areas are much more likely to vote for the Brexit Party as a vote for Brexit than they are to vote for the Tory Party for historical reasons. And it would be perfectly ridiculous if they fought those same seats. Surely there has to be an accommodation where the Brexit Party will fight in Labour seats that the Conservative Party has no chance of winning, but could split the vote. And that where Conservatives have are the major party, then the Brexit Party don't stand against them. Because this election, whatever people like Corbyn may be trying to claim, and he already is, that it's about other issues, it's not. It's about Brexit, because if you have a victory in this election by anti-Brexit parties, then Brexit ain't going to happen. So this is all about Brexit. I have absolutely no support for the Conservative Party or Boris Johnson as a person and as a party. I was brought up in a working class council estate in Leicester in the 1950s and 60s in a household that always voted Labour, and absolutely would never vote Tory or even consider it. But the Labour Party of those days, and it had many flaws then, is not the Labour Party of today. It's completely different organisation, just like the Green Party that I joined in the 1980s is not the Green Party today. Same name, completely different entity. And this election is all about Brexit. Up to a point, there is a rider of that on that, and it's a rider that affects not just Britain, but also the United States and many other countries, but certainly the United States. And it's this: take Brexit or no Brexit out of this election. Just take that out. And of course, that's not a factor in America in 2020. And what you're left with are no-choice elections. To an extent, like I say, British people on December the 12th will have a kind of choice this time, because they can support a Brexit party, or they can pro a Brexit party or an anti-Brexit party. And that will make a difference to Brexit. But take that away, and what's left? Look at America and what's left. And what I mean by that is political choice is a myth, an illusion, to con the people into believing they live in a country based on freedom and based on political choice. So there'll be lots and lots of words and rhetoric between now and December the 12th, but that's all it will be. Because on one side, you have, take the American situation for 2020, you have Donald Trump, a monumental narcissist who talks about fake news, and he's right when he points to organizations like CNN for that. But he's also a purveyor of fake news all the time, with his statements and his tweets that are not based on fact and are not supportable by fact. He just says what suits him in the moment, or what his narcissism demands in the moment. So that's, for me, not really a choice, especially when Trump is surrounded by the neocons, and he's owned by Israel, if you look at the evidence and his decisions. But then, on the other side of the no-choice election in America, you have the Democrats, the woke Democrats, which have been taken over by the woke mentality, which is the mentality funded by the 1%. Just as Trump is serving the 1%, so the Democrats are serving the 1%. And if the Democrats get in, then we are going to see in America full-blown wokeness from the government, which will mean full-blown political correctness, censorship, and deletion of free speech and opinion. We'll see the southern border look like Swiss cheese. They are saying that they should decriminalize crossing the border illegally, which is, of course, going to do what? It's going to encourage people to cross the border in ever larger numbers, because they've got nothing to lose. And so this whole climate change cult agenda for the centralization of power into a dictatorship that dictates the entirety of your life and choices will also come with a Democratic win. So when I talk about no choice, if you look at the American example, you can have the devil or you can have the deep blue sea, as the saying goes. And that, for me, doesn't really play out as much as of a choice. Over in Britain, you can get the Johnson Tory party, which just serves the interests of the 1%, or you can have Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party, which serves the interest of the 1% while claiming not to. Because if the Labour Party gets in with a majority, not only will that be the end of Brexit under any term you can call Brexit, but you'll also get the woke agenda, which this Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats, etc., also represent. Scottish nationalists too, whereby you'll get more and more censorship based on, quote, hate speech, which won't be hate speech at all. It will just be another opinion that's different from the narrative. And you'll get the climate cult agenda, and you'll get all the other elements that I talked about in regard to what the Democrats will visit upon the United States. So again, take Brexit out of this upcoming election now, and what's left is a no-choice election, which is why this really is about Brexit, where there is a choice that could make some difference in regard to that. But once again, in Britain, do you want the devil or do you want the deep blue sea? You can get a party that represents the interests of the 1%, basically couldn't give a damn about the rest. And on the other side, you've got the woke agenda, which wants to impose itself on the fine detail of everybody's life. This is what has happened to politics as it's become ever more polarized. And yet the polarization in many ways is an illusion, in that the poles are controlled, both of them, left, right, and the centre, come to that, by the same 1% and its agents and networks. So the 1% can't win, or can't lose rather, can't lose if the Democrats win or Trump wins. And they can't lose, although it will be portrayed that way, whether Johnson wins or Corbyn wins. The only difference will be if Johnson wins, we might get some kind of Brexit, which 1% really don't want. But the rest of it, they can't lose. And when you have a situation with an election where the 1% can't lose, then what kind of choice is that? So purely on Brexit alone, I do hope that the Brexit Party and the Conservative Party can do some kind of deal to not split each other's vote, and at least we can get Brexit finished, which is something the 1% don't want. And the rest of it, well, do you want Tweedledum or Tweedledummer, really? It's called choice. And And here's just a quick example before I move on to something else of what the woke Labour Party is really all about. It's owned by Israel now, absolutely owned by them. And here's a story from this week. Palestine activist removed from Labour shortlist after smear. This is the Labour shortlist for parliamentary candidates standing in this election. The activist behind an iconic speech on Palestine at Labour's conference last year has had his parliamentary hopes of being an MP dashed by the party. Colin Monaghan announced on Sunday he had been shortlisted to be the Labour candidate for Epping Forest in north-east London. But the party emailed at 1 p.m. on Wednesday telling him he had been removed from the shortlist after, quote, due diligence, which is kind of, in Orwellian speak, a word in their ear from the Israeli lobby. They gave no specifics, Monaghan told the Electric Intifada. That morning, the Jewish Chronicle had published a story claiming Monaghan had, quote, defended a notorious anti-Semitic image. But the journalist behind the story made his real motive clear by denouncing Monaghan on Twitter as having given a pro-Palestinian rant at last year's Labour conference. Lee Harpin, this alleged journalist, also invented the ludicrous idea that Monaghan had been dragged off the stage by security in 2018. After being mocked online, the article was later edited, but not corrected, to read that he had been urged off stage. What Harpin reported about the image was also untrue. Monaghan had actually repeatedly condemned it. I have not shared that image, nor would I, Monaghan told the Electric Intifada. We are now in a situation where any discussion around the subject of Israel-Palestine is in itself dangerous. So here you have the Labour Party putting this guy, Colin Monaghan, on its shortlist to be a candidate to run for the Labour Party in this election. And then suddenly it removes it on the basis of an article full of lies by an Israeli apologist. And if the party was worth voting for, the Labour Party, under Corbyn, it would have said, hold on a minute, what is being claimed here is not true, and we'll decide, thank you very much, who will represent us at elections, and not the Israeli lobby. But no, immediately he's taken off the shortlist because the Labour Party is a spineless party and is now as controlled by Israel as all the others have long been. So that even adds more to this no-choice election that we're now faced with, pro-Brexit or anti-Brexit apart.